For me, this was one that really came through as a project that had an idea from inside to out. And the inside was just as strong and well detailed as the outside.
And this one stood out because it wasn't just about defining one room, one form, one building with the timber, but in this project, the timber reaches out into the landscape, the arms and the circulation.
I feel really happy when strong design meets a good budget. Because sometimes very, very expensive buildings can be done badly because there's no rigor.
It's a beautiful object in and of itself, filled with other beautiful objects.
Right now, this project arguably becomes more complex the more you look at it.
This is so disciplined.
Even just the discipline of light and dark.
This is a project maintains its coherence no matter the scale, and so the inside is appropriately robust for the program.
This is a project that has an idea that is carried forward and adhered to in every detail.
It has probably the most innovative, interesting, and beautiful PV roof I've ever seen.
It protects all the embodied energy and emissions that went into the original house on this really difficult sloping site.
Really beautifully done.
The facade is detailed for the slow aging of the wood, so that the building will only look better as the wood ages.
Even a little kid could sketch this, could draw simple forms. Kind of the distillation that it took to get down to this simplicity and this elegance.
It's not only about function and program, but about light and shadow. When the stools are removed, these little rays of light come through the pavilion.
It reminds me of the sort of populated interiors we talked about, the Shaker dining room, where this chairs are hung on the wall, and it creates a sense of occupation even when the room's empty.
This project was really striking that, again, it was a distillation of a few clear ideas that got executed in a really concise, elegant way across a large space. Curving screen on the outside, it really makes you want to come in and see what's going on the inside.
But what's really nice, when you see the views through the glass from the outside to the inside, the entire kind of all the curvature collapses, and it really feels so complete of a project.
Stair caught my eye because of the section of the guardrail, which is made out of horizontal slatted wood.
Looking from photograph to photograph made me want to be in the space and have that sense of discovery, because it, although on the surface looks conventional, the little twists that happen that are unexpected.
Clearly, the thing that stands out in this project are the deep ceiling coffers that are structural and decorative elements all in one.
Yeah, the sort of hexagonal figure of the coffers that divide into triangles, and they're very deep and beautifully made.
Just as beautiful from up close as far away. And the story of how it goes together, and being really mindful and economical with the number of pieces and how you can just subtly change and manipulate the pieces to create this beautiful form.
Seeing wood applied to an industrial use like this is fantastic.
It's really so beautifully composed and ordered, and yet it's just a quiet kind of space too. In a funny way, it feels like an island in a city teenagers would love to be in.
Impressive to kind of bring that level of sophistication and organization to a project like this.
Reviewing house projects, which tend to have a lot of flexibility in terms of program, it's really nice to see a project that creates a site in section as opposed to only in plan.
From inside the house looking out, show that it's really connected and it's really part of the landscape. It's a beautiful object, it's a beautiful piece of sculpture, but the way it opens like a book to create a place to read a book is really, really wonderful.
Yeah, it's a delightful little essay on discovering the joys of reading, where we're discovering the joys of this small project kind of in the same way.
For me, having worked on bridges, it really strikes me that the really iconic element, the mast, is made out of wood, which is an innovation of itself.
Being under this bridge and seeing the structure and seeing the use of the wood below is, I think, just as striking as the walking surface. The more you look at it, you really do understand that there's structure here, there's all of the details that we need to think about when you're designing a stair, but all just really beautifully and simply incorporated into a sculptural object.
It's a great excuse to visit your colleagues either upstairs or downstairs. Right. The rigor that the architect brought to articulating the frame and the ceiling plane and the careful attention to the windows, and even how things like the egress door that we pointed out earlier are all kind of brought into alignment to really play up the simplicity of it is something to be really commended.
The way the light comes in through that amazing ceiling and fills the space, and that you can circulate around it and be connected to the bigger space, but still be kind of within your own realm is really amazing.
And wood and little wood slats are the material language that give the feeling of a city. You know, it feels very special to me.
Creating these really wonderful places to be and expressing some of the way you move in the building with the bright yellow stair, I think was really a nice combination of pieces.
There are a lot of surprising details on the interior too. The way the stair hall creates a kind of visor into the stair itself. I think there's something to be said for, we were talking about earlier, the fabrication system, and something about using a repetitive system but deploying it in surprising ways is as interesting to me as taking a very precious shape or form and deploying it in a very straightforward way. We'd like to commend the Brock Commons design team and the university for making this really special engineering innovation.
This is exactly, I think, what we wanted to say with giving this a special mention, because this is how we should be pushing the limits of what we understand wood can do, and doing it in a way that puts it out there so that people can see it and know what it is.
Ways of Wood, it talks about a lot of things relative to how wood can be expressed, let's say, through fabrication, through design, through the supply chain.
And I said when I first looked at this that it made me smile. It really does show that transformation of wood from logs with bark all the way down to something that's really refined.
In a way, this is a great reminder to remember that we're affecting some remote landscape as well as the place and the site where we're building.
Typically, you think of residential work as being the types of projects that can be the most innovative because there's a smaller client pool, generally a relatively good budget if it's making its way into an award program like this, and a relatively large amount of freedom compared to some of the institutional or industrial projects. What was really nice today is that we saw a huge number of extraordinarily brilliant mid-rise institutional and large-scale buildings, and the houses this year were something that they were very good. We awarded some really fantastic examples, but it was really lovely to see the kind of rigor and detail, clarity, and attention to just having a complete project come through the much larger scales.
Mm-hmm. I was struck by our time together today, and even just looking through the submissions before, it was really hard to get to these awards because the quality of what was submitted overall was really wonderful. And even the projects that we didn't give awards to, there are aspects of those projects that I think are completely award worthy. So to edit to this was hard, but it doesn't take away from some of the other entries as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I felt like all these projects that we selected, but also, as you say, Rich, permeated the entire spirit of the day are really trying to answer some of the concerns that people have about wood, whether it's the elementary school that talks about how the wood will weather through the special detailing of its facade, how to fabricate wood in different ways that are surprising but take advantage of its great properties as a material, and then just really using wood to speak to different kinds of spaces that you want to create and rooms that you want to create. So warm rooms for, intimate domestic space of a living room, or these grand halls that are celebratory in different kinds of ways for recreation or for worship or whatever it might be. It's all here. And that fact that wood as a material can produce such a range of architecture is probably one of the most promising things we saw.